we're going to switch gears ever so gently from the NFL here over to the NBA. If you're streaming here and on Twitch and you think this is an NBA 2K stream, my apologies, but that's okay. We'll figure it out here. And I'm glad that you are watching, and I hope that you enjoy some of my sports takes and some of my sports thoughts here this evening. So, as we switch gears into the NBA, we're going to do a quick live look into what's going on in the Eastern Conference playoff play-in game here, as the Indiana Pacers are really running it up on the Charlotte Hornets, which would mean that the Charlotte Hornets get to start their summer a little bit early, and the Indiana Pacers get to keep on playing basketball. In the Eastern Conference, as it relates to the play-in tournament, I think that it created a lot of value and a lot of fun towards the end of the regular season. But if you were to ask me, what do I think about the oh, thank you for the spam, everybody. What do I think about the NBA play-in series? And I think that the NBA play-in series for the East is not going to amount to a hill of beans outside of some big time, media coverage within that. So definitely, we are seeing that play out. Just remember, whoever gets the 7 seed will play the Brooklyn Nets, and the Brooklyn Nets, they're really good. They had a dunk the other night that seemed like something out of a uh, fashion show. And then the 8 seed will get to play Philly with one of the MVP candidates, Joel Embiid. So a lot of fun in terms of how the season ended. I don't think it's going to amount to a lot as it relates to to a deep playoff run. Now in the West, I think that there is some potential for a deep run, especially between the Warriors and the Lakers, which is the first game. Oddly enough, remember, if the whoever wins the Warriors versus Lakers game will get to go play the Jazz as the 7 seed, and then whoever comes in as the 8th, or pardon me, whoever is the 7th seed gets to play the Suns, and whoever's the 8th seed ends up being that 8th seed gets to play the Jazz. Now, I'll say this: I think if whoever ends up playing the Jazz actually might have a better shot at knocking off the 1 seed as opposed to the Suns. I know Chris Paul has not had a ton of deep playoff experience, but I think being a floor general and having the amount of playoff experience that he has, along with a great stud like Devin Booker, I think is a really important piece to have. And I would rather play the Jazz than the Suns in the first round of the playoffs. That's your first hot take here of the evening. So going to be following that in our picks for the evening. I'm going to be picking the Western Conference play-in kind of first round games, if you will. So those are some of my quick thoughts here on the NBA play-in predictions. Now, as we move into MVP thoughts and really how I feel about them, I saw a quick article from FanDuel that really showed that Nikola Jokic is the clear-cut favorite for the MVP. He might get a unanimous MVP. According to FanDuel, stats were you had Jokic, and then after that you had Steph Curry, Joel Embiid, Giannis, and Chris Paul. The only really thing that I would change to that is I would have Jokic, Curry, Chris Paul, probably Embiid, then Giannis. But at that point, Giannis is so far ahead. You're really just kind of determining who's going to be the first and second losers of the MVP race. I do think that if there was just hey, let's give a tip of the cap award to some folks, I think that Chris Paul and Steph Curry definitely deserve a tip of the cap to just for the way that they have led their teams this year and this season. So that is those are some of my thoughts there. Chris Paul has had a ton of great intangibles. Steph Curry also being able to continue to score at the rate he is by being the main guy on his team is very impressive for sure. So those are some NBA MVP thoughts here on Friends Stream Sports. So finally, want to just touch briefly on another fun little thought that I think is important. And that is, I would like to just share my thoughts of a bad team that I think is in good shape heading into this year. And by bad team, I mean a team that did not make the playoffs. If you weren't at least the 10th best team in your conference, you're kind of a bad team. And I think that the New Orleans Pelicans actually are in a really good position to take that next step and not just compete for a playoff spot next year, but to maybe even win a series in the playoffs. It's really good that the Pelicans aren't near the Cade Cunningham sweepstakes. Looking at you, Orlando Magic, so they can try to maybe move some pieces that they find some value, or other teams might find some value. Looking at you, Lonzo Ball, and be able to add just some real nice value to their team. And to that, I think the one thing that if you're looking at off-season acquisitions, that's going to be really important is going to be to add 3-point shooting for the New Orleans Pelicans. The Pelicans ranked 26th in the NBA this season in 3-point percentage. And for a Stan Van Gundy coach team, that is not going to cut it, not in the slightest. So free agents, looking at a guy like Duncan Robinson, I think you can make a Duncan Robinson kind of Dragic combo trade for like Alonzo Ball, maybe another piece there from New Orleans, kind of a sign and trade type situation. Somehow Alonzo's still getting some love, so I would move off of that Lonzo train ASAP. Maybe grab a Duncan Robinson, somebody who can really create that spacing to give Zion the space to continue to just do what he does best and just be just awesome right at the rim. So those are some of my NBA thoughts, and we're about halfway through all of my thoughts here this evening.